Hi there, welcome to the Jay Slater missing person case, taking a look at the top 9 theories regarding his disappearance, why he went missing, what happened to him, foul play or not. We're going to be looking at it, combining it all together, and possibly doing an analysis along the way, sharing with you my thoughts and what could be more likely. I do believe that if any of them are somewhat true, it could actually cross over with alternative theories to an extent. So while she might have 9, you could whittle it down to maybe 5 or 6. Of course, time will tell within the investigation and search for Jay Slater, but, during these periods of uncertainty, there's no harm in looking at different avenues and possibilities, whether that to be rule out, debunk, or maybe expand upon in the future. And as we see, humans in this world like to play down theories or call them conspiracy theories. I think it's kind of unnecessary because at the end of the day, a theory is an idea. An idea can eventually turn into a fact if the appropriate evidence is found along the way to reinforce it. And if not, that can be debunked. It all helps along the way. It ticks things off the list. It can fill in missing pieces of the jigsaw, but not everybody sees it that way. What I will say is, whilst I did my previous video to do with a TikTok star supposedly feeling in danger because of a dark presence out there sending death threats, warnings for searching and going out there, I think another form of resistance which could imply you're on the right path or you may be close to the truth is some of your ideas which have come about have been labelled by others out there as conspiracies. And all you're doing is using common sense, critical thinking skills, applying one thing with another based off the supposed evidence, how the story's played out, the odd few timestamps along the way. That's all you're doing, combining one theory with another, expanding upon it, and then it's deemed as a conspiracy. And normally, when a person's deemed as a conspiracist theorist, they're labelled in other ways as crazy, not to be trusted, ignore that person, don't take them seriously, they need locking up. That's how it tends to go about, right? But you might be genuine, or you should be genuine, you got genuine points, and you might be getting somewhere, but then you're silenced, or you're dismissed. Your points are dismissed, the wording is changed to paint a bad picture of yourself to make you look crazy. I've seen it in the past when it came to a family member within the Kenny Veach case who reached out to me with some information. They did appear in a documentary in the US regarding his disappearance, but what she had to say in the documentary was actually cut out by the crew making it after, so they portrayed her like a crazy individual when a lot of the context was missing. So there was clearly an agenda there. Is there an agenda here? Well, when we look at this article, we look at the conspiracies or the theories regarding it. Let's see how it's worded, okay? Are they playing down the importance of certain events? Are they exaggerating other areas? That's what we can find out today. Now, welcome to those that are currently watching and returning. Appreciate that. If you do want to catch up on previous videos by me, such as what I hinted at earlier about the TikTok star being attacked, top right corner of the screen where that eye symbol is. If you click up there, there's about 2 or 3 key videos which I looked at yesterday in bulk. Be sure to catch up when you do have time. And there might be an odd playlist as well to do with other cases if you're interested in that type of stuff. And, shout out to the people that have come along on my channel just recently, sharing their thoughts, valid opinions, and also the odd positive message. I am aware that within the Jay Slater case, the community, whether it be worldwide or specifically the UK, I've noticed the odd few knobheads on my channel in the comments, the way they respond, the way they get defensive because, can't comprehend asking a question, or the style of coverage, or the style of the information put across, the different points of views, the different perspectives, the balance from dark to light to in the middle. A couple of these humans that come along, whinge, whine and complain in the comments, well, feel free to do so. Keep being a statistic, show that resistance. It only makes yourself look more suspicious, okay? So with that being said and done, let's get straight into this and begin analysing. The title of this article reads, "The 9 Theories Devastating Missing Jay Slater's Family in Tenerife as Conspiracy Dismissed." Conspiracy dismissed. Is it dismissed with facts, evidence, or not? I guess we'll see how that plays out. And does this dismissed conspiracy tie in with the 9 theories, or what? We'll see. And the parents there, as you notice, now been missing for close to 3 weeks after disappearing in Tenerife. Family is being left heartbroken as they frantically continue to search. I believe it's almost 4 weeks now. Take in mind this article is a little bit older. I'm just catching up. And for those that are watching, the importance behind this, it could be considered as like a recap. For those that are new to my channel, new to the case, just catching up, it's like looking back retrospectively, putting it all into play, right? The case has been dogged by vicious conspiracy theories circulating online and spreading rampantly on social media, many of which are going unproven and unfounded. Those closest to Jay have spoken out about how damaging it has been to read the comments going viral on the internet with one of Jay's best friends who travelled out to Tenerife dismissing one particular theory. I guess it doesn't help when you might get those within the case, the odd few people, the way they act a little bit dodgy at times, or how they might tell one story, then change it to another, and it's a bit switching and changing. You know, just be consistent. That's all that's required. Consistency gets rid and dispels the suspicion, right? Well, it helps at times. But, you know, how it's worded here, dogged by vicious conspiracy theories. Vicious? Okay. You might get some humans out there that go all in or start some kind of witch hunt and state things as a fact when it's just a theory. Yeah, that's poor language, poor wording, very reckless. It might harm people. It could harm the case or just make a mockery of the situation, unless others are already doing that to begin with within. But, you know, at least when it comes to how I handle things, all under control, language, wording, and that's what I do. Done it for some time now. There's no harm in looking at different areas and elements, aspects of the case, because you never know what may pop up, right? So it says, yet both Jay's father and uncle have thrown doubt over the police investigation in recent days, as well as addressing possible criminality involved as they aired their frustration with the lack of progress in finding the teenager. I mean, you could say criminality is some kind of vicious conspiracy if you want to go all in there. Because is it 100% backed up with Jay Slater? Not quite. I mean, potential links in the background, direct or indirect, with who he's around at a time or a certain point, yeah. But any particular crimes occurring or any crimes being reported in the area around the same time as Jay Slater? Not that I'm aware of. But anyway, after more than 2 weeks on the ground covering the search for Jay in Tenerife, 9 theories, here we go. Apprentice bricklayer, spent the night on Airbnb. We've seen all this before, right? Last known location, Rodeton Park. 11-hour walk from Los Cristianos. 8:30 in the morning, disappearance. Jay called Lucy. In the middle of nowhere, lost, dehydrated, 1% battery with one of his final phone pings. Last known contact morning, Monday, June 17th. Tried to return to the tourist hotspot where the friends Lucy, Law and Brad were staying at, despite extensive search. No result yet. So, I believe this is theory number 1. Did Jay get into trouble at the Airbnb? The one what he was like taken to, the one which was at the time rented by Ayub Qasim. Ayub Qasim, the one about 9 years ago, arrested for dealing Class A drugs in Wales. So, is this a situation of birds of a feather flock together? Well, the one popular theory is that Jay Slater got into some kind of trouble during his stay at the remote Airbnb the night before he went missing and the men he stayed with. The case took a sinister turn earlier this week when it was revealed that one of the last people to see Jay was a convicted drug dealer. Yeah, no suggestion by any authority investigating the disappearance that the man Ayub is suspected of any wrongdoing. But then some coverage as well online elsewhere, such as on YouTube, where it shows Ayub Qasim videos obtained of him at the place property in terms of the date provided, not known of, photos or videos of Ayub partying or hanging out with other guys much younger than him. Would that be considered dodgy? Some people could say that. Ayub, 31 years of age, the people who he's around, younger, as for Jay Slater, 19 or so? You know, could be considered as, well, this person's 31, more impressionable, seen as more of a, not trustworthy, but someone you look up to because of the age and experience. So anyone much younger, who could be considered a bit vulnerable or naive, could be persuaded by someone like Qasim to come hang out with him. As for activities and what they go up to, unknown. Could anything dodgy happen? You never know. Was Jay Slater caught up within it? Who knows? You'd have to look back and say, has Qasim been involved in any other trouble or suspicious happenings, missing people cases before Jay Slater? Because if there was a pattern, you could say, well, 31-year-old at a certain point in time, then being around much younger people, and it just so happens that whoever hangs around him then goes missing. Well, I don't see any patterns there. This could be the first time round it's happened. But if anything else does turn up in the background, well, no harm in looking at, right? So with this one, the Airbnb, it's quite a vague theory, and I'm sure some of which will link on to some additional theories later on, such as Jay Slater supposedly borrowing a phone charger from the Airbnb in one of the rooms where Ayub's friend was sleeping at. Was there an opportunity for Jay to steal something else when he was in that room, when he had permission to do so? And that he had to leave urgently after because he couldn't return back in case they found out what he did. That's one way of looking at it. Another one was saying how, well, if Qasim's been a drug dealer in the past, is he still doing it now internationally? And there could have been drugs within the building, property, and they were supposed to be stashed, kept safe, or it was like a dealing point or a drop-off point, and somehow Jay got involved in that, lost a package somehow, and then that may have angered the people that were there, and Jay couldn't be around them when finding out. We'll see if that does tie on later. It says here, TV detective Mark William Thomas, who flew to Tenerife to help find Jay, claimed Qasim, 31, was in prison 9 years ago for orchestrating a scheme to inundate Wales with Class A drugs. Orchestrating it, so like, what, a leader? The one who's got control over others that do the dirty work? Could that be repeated in Tenerife, I wonder? Get the younger ones in, who are a bit more vulnerable, a bit more naive, get them to do all the dealing whilst you just sit back. Did Jay Slater get caught up in something like that, which is currently active? Is that what ties back to the criminal networks and underground activity? You never know. It says, it's a mystery Johnny Vegas who drove the missing teen to the deserted holiday rental. But why did they call Ayub Qasim Johnny Vegas when he looks nothing like him? And completely different skin colour. It's a bit silly, that, to be honest. Just call him bloody Ayub Qasim. It's easier. It's more relevant. Mark shared a video online updating the public in which he revealed he had spoken with Qasim. Mr. Williams said, he told me he was on the strip in Playa de Americas and said Jay wanted to carry on partying and that he hadn't anywhere to stay. So he, Qasim, invited him back to his rental in the car. They played music all the way. They stopped once to get a can of fizzy drink, and there was 3 of them in the car, Jay in the back and Qasim, friend, in the front. Okay, 3 of them, Jay by himself, Qasim and his friend. So it's like a 2-on-1 situation, how it's worded here, at least. For Jay to say he wanted to carry on partying, despite the likes of Brad Hargraves, Lucy, saying how, they were going to go back early, go back to their place of, living temporarily, and it was like a 10-minute distance in difference when it comes to where they were partying and where they were staying at, and yet Jay says, I've got nowhere to stay. Well, of course you've got somewhere to stay, but maybe if that's what Jay said at the time, that's because he was influenced by the fact that he lost his key, and he was thinking that, well, by losing his key, where do I go? I can't go back. Well, realistically, you can go back. You can go to the reception. You can possibly get a spare key. And if that was rejected for whatever reason, you could at least get the attention of your friends, because surely you would have had his phone at a better battery level than what he did later on, right? So he had the choice. He had the option. The family say he's not stupid to go with those guys, so there must have been other reasons, persuasion or forced. But at the end of the day, if Jay Slater is capable of joining a criminal gang in the past, well, it could happen once again, or at least who you surround yourself with, dodgy people, it can reoccur, okay, if you haven't learned from the past. Another photo, the Airbnb, there we go. Rural, meaning less witnesses, and I guess less surveillance. He continued to explain that once they were at the Airbnb, the unnamed friend went to sleep, but Jay proceeded to be given a blanket and phone charger before leaving to get a bus that comes every 10 minutes. Once at the property, his friend opened the door and went to the left and went straight to sleep. As we saw, Jay walked in, Qasim walked in behind him, went upstairs, got him a red blanket. TV detective Qasim said, "Yo, bro, the sofa's for you there," and he gave him a towel if he needed a shower. Jay also asked for a cigarette, and Qasim gave him a Camel one. Interesting name. Left it on the side. Jay then asked for a charger and then went into Qasim's friend's room whilst he was sleeping and got the charger. Did he steal anything else? A possible watch? You never know. Mr. Williams added that Qasim told him, then went to sleep and was awoken by the sound of the door buzzing. He added Qasim opened the door and spoke to a woman and man, and they told him to move his car, which he did, and he said he could see Jay chatting to a woman. Why was Jay chatting to a woman? Why? Okay. He said that after moving the car, he came back and saw Jay had his trainers on, and he told Qasim that the woman had said he could get a bus every 10 minutes. Qasim said to him, "Chill, mate, I'll drop you off later when I wake up." But Jay said, "Nah, I need some scran. I'm hungry." So there's no food at the Airbnb. Quotes, Jay said he had been told by the woman the bus to Los Cristianos was every 10 minutes, and Qasim said there was no bus and added, "Do what you like before going to sleep." Continuing the video, okay, Mr. Williams, the evidence still strongly supports that Jay left the Airbnb suddenly, walked for 30 minutes before wandering off-road on Monday when he dropped a location ping. I mean, the moment you start wandering off-road, especially if it's not even a proper pathway, that's just very, very reckless. You would have been more successful continuing going down that long road, whatever, and maybe trying to hitchhike. That can have its own dangers, of course, but it can't be any worse than what it is right now. You get me? But yeah, if a bus was every 10 minutes and you just happen to miss it, you just wait for the next 10-minute time frame. The decision which has baffled Jay's family. Is this the next theory? Spanish police have already spoken to Qasim and the unnamed pal he was travelling with, after which officers on the ground said the pair were irrelevant to the investigation. Qasim has now returned to his family's flat in East London after he reportedly booked the £40 a night Tenerife apartment under the name of Ayub Abdul. Speaking earlier this week, he said, "The only comment I have to make is that Jay came to the house alive and he left the house alive." In quotes, "I'll let the geezer stay at mine because he had nowhere else to go. His friends had all left him. I know Jay through friends. I'm not going to bring someone back to mine if I don't know them. I'm doing the geezer a favour and now my face is all over the news. It's a bit mental. I haven't done anything wrong." Okay. But the decision has sparked concern from his family and many on social media who question why police allowed some of the last people to see him alive to travel back to the UK. And I guess scatter because it's harder to keep your eyes on those people if they're all over the place. I get it. One of Jay Slater's close family members has said that he has been thinking third-party involvement from the start as a search for the missing teenagers going to the third week. At the time, the youngster's uncle joined other family members in a renowned search for 19-year-old. Mr. Duncan, it's baffled me from day one. How can you say that they have no relevance when they're two of the last people to see him alive? Of course, when you're the last few people to see someone alive, at least, before they've gone missing, or worse, you'd be deemed as a person of interest. And what qualifies those factors? Were you the last person to hear from them, last person to see them physically, in close proximity in terms of friendships, relationships? Well, that doesn't tick the box here, does it? Because they're kind of strangers with one another. But in terms of proximity to where they were all at, yes, close. So for the most part of it, it ticks nearly all the boxes to make you a person of interest. And for those people to be let go and, oh, well, never mind, irrelevant to the case, that's quite harsh. That they're somewhat relevant. They might not be the be-all and end-all, but they play a key component within the case. Especially when you're last to see someone, would make you a key witness, right? And I don't know how it works with other cases out there, right? Because not all cases are handled the same way. Some may be treated properly and others are dropped, the ball's dropped, wasted opportunities and chances and evidence lost along the way. It can be problematic. Does that tie in here? You could argue to an extent, right? But yeah. It's like if one of you guys go missing now and letting the rest of you fly home and say we're not bothered about it. It's a massive letdown. It's one of them too. You don't want to give them a hammering or can't step on their toes. Jay's friend Lucy Law, who travelled with him to the Canary Islands, was one of the last people to speak to him around 8 a.m, so another person of interest on the morning he went missing. Interview on July 18th, Miss Law said, in quotes, Jay was obviously thinking he would be able to get home from there, but then in the morning he set off walking using his maps on his phone and ended up in the middle of the mountains with nothing around. He rang me about 8 o'clock morning saying his phone was on 1%. He said, I don't know where I am, I need a drink, my phone is about to die. Bus stop was right next to the house, so obviously if he had gone to get the bus, he wouldn't have got lost because, so it's that close, wasted opportunity. Jay's family suspect, third-party involvement from the start, so this appears to be, I guess, the next one. Mr. Duncan has branded every passing day as just torture as the devastated family waits for news speaking about the online trolls spreading horrifying rumours. Mr. Duncan said, I'm not on social media or anything, so I can just block it out. It's the world we live in. If he's gone on a trail like a path like this and he's got lost or fallen down, I think he would have been found by now. So you think off the beaten track? Mr. Duncan told his suspicions. I've been thinking third-party involvement from the start. That's just some things that have already been out there. What, possible kidnapping? Mr. William Thomas ruled out the idea about Jay as being kidnapped. So it's been ruled out, but is there proof to rule it out? Because Mark William Thomas has also talked about criminal networks and activity. So if you're ruling out a kidnap, which is a form of criminal activity, you're kind of contradicting yourself there to an extent. Anyway, despite his mum Debbie previously saying she believed that what had happened to him, he added, we have no evidence at this stage to say there was any third-party criminal involvement in Jay's disappearance. Yet, same people talking about criminal networks out there, so make your mind up. Bloody hell. In quotes, however, there are still a number of outstanding actions and therefore we still remain open-minded to the possibility of this changing. Fair enough. Evidence strongly supports that Jay walked off and was walking for at least 30 minutes off-road on a track before he last had contact with friends with a very accurate location pin drop. So if he was supposedly walking for 30 minutes on an actual track, a pathway, and if anyone has been walking down there since, they would have found him, but they haven't. So that would imply that he must have gone off track even more, off the beaten pathway, which isn't like a designated pathway. To start going off, off road, off track, very irresponsible, especially if you're in an area you're not quite familiar with or you haven't been there before and you may not have the appropriate footwear or the gear with you, the water. It's just recklessness. So maybe he wasn't in the right frame of mind, poor decision making at the time. If the overall feeling and sense of fear from the Airbnb for whatever reason took over him, that could have impaired his decision making, his memory, or more so other things, and mistakes were made along the way. In quotes, I would make an appeal for landowners in the area of Tenerife Park to check out outbuildings and land that they may have hoped that some further searches will continue. Next theory. Jay was scared of someone or something, and a debunked distressed video. Debunked? Oh, let's see what this is. However, Mark William Thomas, who has probed a string of high-profile missing person cases, has claimed that the teenager would have been feeling scared when he left the property on Monday morning. In a video filmed earlier this week, July 2nd, and posted on Twitter formally, the investigator said, in quotes, we received information that would suggest that Jay left the rental property feeling scared and he would not return to the rental, even though that would have been the most sensible course of action. Where's the direct evidence to say he was scared? I mean, maybe in that call he appeared distressed and scared mainly because he was lost, and fear can kick in there. But was he also making reference to, well, he did make reference to he can't go back because of certain reasons without really elaborating much, so a feeling of being scared there. In quotes, he wandered off. I just can't see how he would wander all the way down there. When you're lost, you stick to a path, well, you try to, don't you? I don't know if he was afraid of someone or something, added Mr. Duncan, as theories circulate that Jay was scared after leaving the Airbnb. It's so easy to get lost down there, said Mr. Duncan of the huge and unforgiving search site, as he endured several hours under a scorching 25 Celsius temperature as they searched the valley close to the village of Masca at the heart of the mountainous terrain in Tenerife where Jay vanished. There was a group of us and you can't see anybody. It got to a point where I wasn't even looking for my nephew. I was just trying to find my own way out to safety. So when things like that happen, more people's lives could be endangered whilst trying to look for the original one. That's why radios, in a way, are needed if there is some kind of signal. But Mr. Williams Thomas has moved to debunk another theory after a distressing video began doing the rounds online. People had begun to claim the clip showed Jay. Mr. William Thomas said the video is not recent and therefore cannot be the missing teen. He said lots of people are contacting us about a distressing video that is circulating. The video that was posted on social media site was 9 years ago and therefore cannot be Jay Slater. Okay, so it's not relevant to the disappearance of Jay Slater, but the video itself 9 years ago, was it Jay Slater 9 years ago in the video? Or is it a completely different person? Just so happens to be someone that looks like Jay Slater. That's what I want to know. Of course, you've got to take in mind the age difference as well. 9 years ago for Jay Slater, it'd be pretty drastic, wouldn't it? Right? It'd be pretty obvious as well. I mean, I don't know why people out there get a hold of media and videos and then rush to posting it and saying, this is it, this is how it links, without knowing the context behind it, or at least trying to find the date. If it's hard to find, but it seems recent, you could understand a mistake being made. But if it's more visibly obvious that there's a 9-year difference, then why the hell are you posting it? It's kind of like with the Noah Presgrove case in the US, where talks about hit and run, one of the theories, one of the narratives being shoved and forced at the start by some of the key people within the case and partygoers, friends and family members. And then people online came across some of those individuals' post on social media to do with hitting something or the vehicle being damaged after hitting something. And then that actually dated back to a year or two ago. So it's not relevant to the death of Noah Presgrove. And then there was like another post where people were trying to put across and use it as evidence to say that one of the key witnesses and partygoers, known as Caden Pressey, has been receiving over 300 death threats for trying to reveal the truth and shine light on the case and expose others as liars just by telling the truth. And then there was like a post on TikTok where there was threatening Caden Pressey, saying, you know, your house is pretty flammable, it could burn down, right? So threatening language there to insinuate that an arson attack was going to take place, and yet that was in 2013. Wow, so relevant. Not. So things like that can be problematic because, you know, when groundbreaking video footage, which at first is interpreted as the key and relevant to the case, it can get people's hopes up. It can cause time to stop. And then when it's debunked, it's like, ugh, let down, disappointed for some. We move on to the next theory, the £12,000 Rolex mystery. And to be honest, this one could just well link to one of the first theories on the page about, you know, something going on at the Airbnb. As I said, they can go hand in hand. But here, former detective Mark Williams claimed that Jay had posted a Snapchat saying they'd taken a £12,000 Rolex from a person. Investigators said, we've received information that suggests that Jay left the rental property feeling scared he would not return to the rental, even though that would have been the most sensible course of action. But on the basis that if you was to steal a watch, such as from that Airbnb, and maybe you regretted it afterwards, or the realization kicked in that those guys from there could, you know, find out pretty quick, to return back whilst being scared wouldn't be the sensible course of action on that basis. In quotes, we've been unable to validate this in terms of a reported theft, Mark William Thomas said in a video. However, friends of Jay said he would not make this up, and the watch was subject of later conversation between the friends. So, if Jay did steal a watch, well, that was silly behaviour, wasn't it? You know, things can come, consequences can follow, whether that be the past or the present. But Qasim said that there had been no problems with Jay amid reports that the teenager had told friends he had taken a £12,000 Rolex watch and left a rental property feeling scared. Qasim said, if I'd fallen out with him, would he even come to mine? Yeah, but you could have fallen out with him when he was at yours and he didn't really have anywhere to go, right? It's like luring somebody into a trap. I'm not saying that this is the case here, but it can happen. It's like with the Noah Presgrove case. People have been suggesting that, yes, Noah attended the party on the Saturday in 2023, September. Okay. then went back home, then came back the next day but was invited and had a lift down. So he didn't have his own vehicle. And that was after an argument the day before. So were things supposedly patched up after that argument? False sense of security, driven on down, you're at the party, and now you're trapped. You got nowhere to go, you're in a rural area, miles away from certain places, near to a highway. How do you escape if anything goes wrong or if you're in danger? Because just simply escaping is dangerous. Going down the highway is dangerous. Early hours of the morning is dangerous. People rejecting you when you say, can you drive me home because I've got no vehicle of my own? Dangerous, right? You compare that to Jay Slater, even more awkward considering, in a way, how stranded he was from comparing it to where he should have been, Los Cristianos. I don't know if he had beef elsewhere because I don't know him that well. I only know him through friends. Is that what Qasim said also? Jay's past coming back to haunt the case. Right, okay. This is the next theory. This is to do with Jay's dark past. One of the latest twists to the case, well, it's not exactly late, is it? Latest, because we've heard about it in the past. Former Metropolitan Police Officer, now claims in a video posted online his disappearance has underworld connections. There we go. Mr. Williams said, further digging into the investigation has opened up an established criminal network with links to drugs, violent crime and theft. Jay Slater could be linked with theft at some point in the past, but more so relevant to the case about the supposed watch being stolen. As for drugs, bit of a grey area as for the past. As for violent crime, somehow indirectly involved in that with that gang in the past with the machete attack on that, at the time, supposed innocent individual. In a video posted on Twitter, he said, in quotes, as part of the investigation, we have sought to speak with all the people Jay had contact with whilst in Tenerife. Result of this digging has opened up an established criminal network with links to drugs. At this stage, I cannot expand any further on what we now know. I'm unable to say if this network has anything to do with Jay's disappearance, but remain open-minded. But that's not the only mention of criminality that has plagued the disappearance. Jay was a part of a gang of 8 that split the skull of Tom Hilton, at the time 17 years of age, during an attack with a machete axe in Rishton, Lancashire, back in August 2021. And it just so happened that Jay was on the peripheral vision of it happening. So did he directly get involved? Yes or no? Could be interpreted as he didn't, but he was still a part of it. He witnessed it himself, and when it came to court and they were in court in the trial, he was laughing along with the others. Not exactly taking it serious. Not exactly a good look, right? And during the attack, it actually took a 15-year-old girl in which Tom Hilton was supposed to be meeting up with at that abandoned place. 15-year-old girl jumped across his body to protect him, and then that's what stopped those attacking Tom. But what is Tom Hilton doing with a 15-year-old girl? Now, granted, the ages aren't that suspect, right? But, if you wanted to add time on, so 18 or 19 years of age, not far off, and Tom was meeting up with a 15-year-old girl, you could say, what's going on there? Anyway, details of Mr. Hilton's attack were widely shared online after previous articles had been uncovered, reposted social media amid search efforts to locate missing Jay. In court, he described a gang of 8 as a pack of wolves. He said he was forced to run for his life through the woods before they eventually caught up with him. Oh, it's interesting how this article refers to it as a pack of wolves, yet the article that I read days before, they called him a pack of gorillas. So we're evolving and somehow with different animals. Judge Philip Parry at the time told the court that the group had behaved disgracefully during the violent disorder, adding, "You should all be thoroughly ashamed of yourself, but I'm not sure you're all convinced. I hope for the sake of your families, public, and those who offered you jobs, apprenticeships, and so you'll grow up. Every one of you deserves to be sent to youth detention." And then, handed 8-month community order for violent disorder with 25 days rehabilitation activities, 150 hours unpaid work, and that was handed to Jay. Still, Mr. Hilton has urged people to help find him and have some respect as the major search continued. The victim, who was left with serious wounds to his skull, shoulder and leg in the shocking attack, has since hit back at internet trolls and urged people to help him find in a public post. So Tom said, "Whoever is writing on these TikToks, give it a rest. A young lad's missing and his family's heartbroken. Put yourself in their shoes. Stop talking nonsense on social media and get this lad found. Mentioning my name all on this. Some respect and find his body." So you could say that Tom is being the better person by putting the past in the past and moving forwards. But still, You know, you use the past to get an understanding of the person and their background and to see, could they have reoffended once again? Could they have, you know, once again surrounded themselves with unsavory, dodgy, dark forces and characters out there? So did Jay come around Qasim and the other friend because he related to them directly or indirectly, persuaded easily, convinced, or shared some kind of common ground with whatever? Makes you think. Jay's mum, Debbie Duncan, also told Live early in the search about how he was once ambushed and beaten up by gang members when he was 12 years old. The three men jumped out of a car and targeted Jay and his friend before witnesses intervened. So it's interesting how that's added in now. Miss Duncan, he was really shook up and had a massive lump on his head. He said they were kicking them and all on the ground. These gang members, how old were the gang members then? Miss Duncan also described how she feared Jay had been taken by the men, when in fact the then 12-year-old was hiding under a car. She said, people are saying there are gangs of use in Oswald Whistle, but I know Jay wasn't involved in that. He had only been out of the house for about half an hour. Right. So what's this implying here? That at 12 years old, Jay was attacked by a gang. Fast forward years on, Jay joins a gang. Is that a form of revenge? Is that a form of gaining protection, retaliating back of some sort? You know, what happened to him is bad, shouldn't have happened, but what he did afterwards shouldn't have happened either. It's kind of like if you're bullied and then later you turn into a bully yourself and then bully someone else. It's just an endless cycle. It does no good. Obviously, you can't be perfect and everyone responds differently to situations, but still, just an observation. We ain't drug mules, Jay's pals. Okay. Let's see what this is all about. So this will be the next theory. Kind of connecting with the criminal underworld theory, I guess. One of Jay Slater's friends was hit back at conspiracy theories. Oh, here we go. Calling it a conspiracy and not just an idea. Circulating on social media. Brad Hargraves was one of Jay Slater's pals who travelled out with him to Tenerife to attend the NRG Music Festival and has found himself targeted by trolls on the internet sending him abuse. Does he deserve to receive abuse? No. Does it help the case? No. Even if you didn't like this Brad individual, how you respond to him should be done in a more appropriate way. And the reason why I say that is sometimes you got to work with the devil. Am I saying the devil is directly in this case or visible? No. But even when you're dealing with people you may not like, but you have to work alongside them for a better cause or the main reason out there in getting the truth of something, you just have to cooperate, right? Just bite your teeth, get along with it. So, you know, talk to someone somewhat normally, build a bit of rapport, and then maybe you might get more answers out of them. If you just rush on in, calling them all names and labeling them this and that, even if it was true at the time, you're just going to push them further away. It's just like the opposite spectrum, where if you was covering a case to spread awareness, to help the case online, and then you get general public who criticize you, call you out, whinge, whine, bitch, moan, and push you away. It's like they're trying to cover up the case and they don't want other people trying to spread awareness on it, right? Does that apply here? Maybe like with the odd TikTok star that's gone out there, boots on ground searching, supposedly because they genuinely believe that they can help or they want to help, and that Jay is missing and it's an innocent situation, even if it may not be, but in the eyes of that TikTok star, it may have been. But then the general public, how they react to it and target him and threaten him. Was a TikTok star over-exaggerating? Was he really in danger or not? Or could he have been? But still, that form of resistance towards him, is it really necessary? Not really. Not really, no. What do we have here? Mr. Hargraves appeared to dismiss a theory that has been widely spread on social media that Tenerife's drug scene could have played a role in Jay's disappearance. Hitting back, he wrote a message on Instagram in which he took aim at the conspiracy theories circulating the independent. In quotes, thinking I'm involved in it all is beyond me. He wrote, we've been mates for years, came on our first holiday together, and unfortunately this has happened. We ain't drug mules or whatever. People need to know the facts before talking shit on the internet. But if you were involved in any drug dealing, you obviously wouldn't publicly talk about it or acknowledge it, right? If you've done stuff in the past or close by and you're not proud of it, or you don't want people to know because it could link onto this, even though there's not a direct link, you just keep it quiet, right? So sometimes it's okay hearing it from directly the horse's mouth, but even they may not be fully honest. Just in general, that point. Was Jay's phone thrown to where it was last tracked? The next theory. So what? Thrown about to cause misdirection, confusion, thrown by Jay or someone else. Former British Army officer believed Jay Slater's mobile phone may have been thrown prior to his disappearance. Oh, to his disappearance. His phone last pinged somewhere in the Parque de Rol de Teno nature reserve, where Spanish police focused their search before they officially called off the search last Sunday. Time's gone on since. Journalists covering Jay's case in Tenerife had spoken to Spanish police and sleuths on the ground investigating the disappearance, has now highlighted a new theory that could explain why the teen's phone last pinged in a dangerous mountainous area after having a conversation with an ex. Right, so you're saying that where the phone actually pinged, it's hard to believe that a person of right mind would actually go there. It seems pointless, it seems weird and odd, but if it was thrown over in that direction to dispose of or cause misdirection, But to be honest, if you're thinking about phone pings and you don't want to be traced or tracked if someone else is responsible, you would try and destroy the phone, wouldn't you? Or take it as far away as possible. It's like the Dylan Rounds case where you had the murderer James Brenner disposed of Dylan Rounds' phone after murdering Dylan, the 28th of May 2022, and James Brenner got rid of it a mile or more away from the murder scene at a nearby pond, Lucin Pond, Utah. By throwing it into the pond, he was thinking that it would cause damage to the phone, cause it to die, and be destroyed to an extent. Obviously, he underestimated it because a forensic deep dive was able to locate files and a timestamp incriminating evidence on it later, November time of 2022. But in the moment, to throw it in water, to dispose of it, to conceal it, and in hopes of damaging and corrupting the data upon it and whatever else, right, and the battery. Yeah, in this case, if that what supposedly happened, just simply by chucking it into the distance, is that good enough? I mean, has the phone been found yet? I don't think it has. And what condition do you think it would be in? I would say if the phone is completely smashed up, then you could argue and say it's been thrown down on the ground or chucked. By Jay, it wouldn't seem likely unless he fell and landed on the phone, unless the phone somehow fell out of his pocket and hit the ground. That's the only all you can think of. If the phone was in good condition, though, then that would be interesting. Surely it would have been a bit battered. What else? So the person said, mobile's GPS location could only be possible if the phone was thrown into the terrain. He told GB News. We're not obviously being kept up to speed, but it did tell me that he thought the ping came from was rather surprising because it was really steep to get to. And it was covered in undergrowth and cacti. Oh, so it was discovered, it was found. He said, to get there, you'd need a machete, or he suggested someone had thrown the phone into that growth. So you're saying it's quite steep. Are you saying that the person threw it up above their head to that higher elevation, or that you were already much higher up and then threw it down and it landed lower? Sounds like the person threw it up. Why do you throw it up in the air, though? A bit weird. What is the GoFundMe money being used for? So the next theory that pops in, and there's been a lot of skepticism, of course. A GoFundMe created by Lucy Law to get Jay Slater home has now received more than £50,000 in donations. It's about £52,000 now, I believe, as of this evening, July 7th. However, was the subject of much speculation online and in social media groups with people questioning what the money would be used for. Jay's mum, Debbie Duncan, has vowed to never give up on her son, has added as a beneficiary on the fundraiser and was forced to issue a public update. June 23rd. She explained that no money has been withdrawn from the fundraiser, but ever since, money has been withdrawn, right? We've seen that. That friends and family had far funded the trip to Tenerife themselves. After that, Debbie shared that the money would be used to support the mountain rescue teams and volunteers, and to cover accommodation and food expenses, as the family had to extend their stay in Tenerife as well as fly other members of the family out to search. Well, you weren't obligated to fly other family members out to search. The first priority would be actually using money for the experts, the ones that know what they're doing, familiar with the area, right? What doesn't help is supposedly GoFundMe doesn't update when money is taken out, but it is updated when money goes in. Bit silly that, to be honest. How true is that? Well, I've not used GoFundMe myself, but to be honest, whenever I hear GoFundMe, the first thing I think of is go fuck me, right? I don't know why, it's just play on words, but nevertheless. So, ever since Debbie has withdrawn money, some money has been given to one of the TikTokers before, Paul, £700 or so. Was that directly from the GoFundMe or elsewhere? Who knows? That Paul guy was complaining how he wasn't getting enough money, so he ended up ending his search and stuff. But, you know, ever since from the news, what we've heard of, onwards past reading this older article, is that there have been locals, there have been experts willing to volunteer and help free of charge. So then what use will that money be? Let's just say Jay was found and volunteers were responsible. Where would that 50,000 go then? And let's just say the volunteers and people were saying, you know, no, we don't want the money, we don't need it, we're okay. What would the family do with that 50,000? Would they be thinking, oh, okay then, we'll have it ourselves, whatever. Or would they maybe give it to a charity or something? I mean, are you forced to? Depends how you look at it, I guess. But during the search, the actual investigation, the whole point of raising money in the first place has got to be a reason behind it. There needs to be a transparency there so people know what they're putting the money into and where it's actually going. And has that been made clear? To an extent, I guess, and how it's worded here, yeah, but has it actually been utilised, money well spent? Well, in terms of the amount online, looks like it's not made a dent or it's not changed at all. Now, if that's limited by GoFundMe, as in that they don't show the money going down or only going up, that could cause a bit of misunderstanding. So, to be honest, if that's really the case, I think GoFundMe should go figure themselves out and improve the system for better clarity in the future. It says, since then, there have been arguments between the family and one TikToker. Oh, here we go. He went out to Tenerife to search for Jay. Social media creator claimed he had never been given fundraiser money by the family, confirming his intention to return home, whilst the family said they needed experts, not hikers, to help. Interesting how the family say, we don't need hikers, we need experts. But by the way, we're really disappointed that only 6 people turned up at the start when the police ended their search. I mean, what do you want? Oh, we want people to search. We want as many people to search. We want as many people to come on in. We need volunteers left, right and centre. Oh, but by the way, you know, that's not enough people. We need more people. Oh, but by the way, you know, we don't want those people. We want experts. Make your mind up. Some form of help is better than no help at all, right? What Jay Slater's family has said about theories circulating online and what are the police doing? Okay, is this like a general one? One of the most recent statements from Jay Slater's mother addressed the conspiracy theories. She spoke through British Overseas Missing Persons charity LBT. I nearly read that as LGBT. Global after the Tenerife search for her missing son has so far yielded no results. I mean, you say no results, but what the hell happened with those sunglasses that were found by that TikTok individual that was complaining about not being paid, right? What's going on about that? Those sunglasses, was it ruled out? I saw one article and it's not been brought up since. What's going on with that? You know, it could be deemed as a key piece of evidence, and if not, it should have been clearly debunked and there should have been a clear article. I've yet to see it. If any of you have seen any updates about the sunglasses being found, feel free to leave a comment down below. That'd be appreciated. It says here, July 2nd, Debbie Duncan said, we are a very close family and absolutely devastated by his disappearance. Words cannot describe the pain and agony we're experiencing. Beautiful boy. Yeah. We're aware of the conspiracy theories and speculation on social media and some websites can only describe that as vile. The negative comments are extremely distressing to our family. I mean, you can have people that may have a negative outlook on the case, but they're not vile. They're just being realistic. That can exist. You don't always have to be delusionally positive in this world. Miss Duncan thanked Spanish authorities who have worked tirelessly in a search on ground and continue with the investigations behind scenes, but her brother and Jay's uncle, Glenn Duncan, have raised concerns about just what the police are doing. In the past few days, Mr. Duncan said, I don't know what the police are taking seriously. I don't know if they're following up every single lead. I feel like marching down there myself and bursting into the station. What are they actually doing now, the police? I mean, they're not searching with the helicopter, are they? Are they doing door-to-door inquiries or sitting there looking at CCTV? And finally, Warren Slater, Jay's dad, has too voiced the family's frustration about the investigation. He said, "Tell me where I look, I can only go after the last sighting. The woman in that restaurant saw him going the wrong way. Which human being lets a young boy go the wrong way? Everything stinks, it's just a riddle, I don't know the answer." But did that woman at the time know he was going the wrong way? Is it like Jay asked her for directions, he went the wrong way, in which she described? Shouldn't she have said, "Hey, you got the wrong way, it's the other way"? So that was a bit of an interesting catch-up. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Feel free to like and share if you want, spread more awareness, if that's what you feel that needs to be done. Feel free to catch up where the eye symbol is, where the previous videos are. And just let me know, do you agree with any of those conspiracy theories or just simple theories and ideas? Do you believe in any of them? Leave a comment down below. Do you think there could be a crossover with some of them, such as trouble at the Airbnb, possibly stealing an item, conflict in the background, associating yourself with other possible criminal individuals to an extent, multiple links, or just one idea? Let me know. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.